Yo, what's up friends? Welcome back to my channel, Enjoying Tech. Today we're going to go over Python coding questions episode 2. But today I will only go over part 1 of the questions that I have in store for this week. We're going to go over checking if a string is a palindrome. It is a little bit lengthy. I do go a little bit in detail about how to approach this problem, why I'm doing this, and why I didn't do that. So definitely hit the subscribe button, turn on the notifications so you can be here for part 2 of this episode when I tell you how to calculate factorial for an integer using recursion. But that being said, definitely check out episode 1. Link will be up here, and yeah, let's get started and start coding. Awesome. So with the first question that we're going to answer is checking to see if a string is palindrome. What this means is that a string will be the same when you read it forwards and backwards. So what we're going to do is convert the string into lowercase, remove any non-alphanumeric characters, and then we're going to check to see if it reads the same backwards as forward, and if it does, return true, otherwise false. The first step that we're going to do is import a library called re. This handles regular expressions that we can use in our string, so that way we can only get the words from the string, which will make things a lot easier. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a class called palindrome. In this class, we're going to create our first public function and passing in self and string. The reason I'm passing in string is because every time we call the class palindrome, it's expected to pass in a string, which will then return true or false if the string is a palindrome. So we're going to initialize self.s to string, but we're also going to make sure that the string is always lowercase, so it makes it easier to use. Next, we're going to do self.palindrome string, and this will hold an empty string, nothing in there. And the reason we're doing this is because we're going to be checking to make sure that the string, once we get our string, we're going to add characters from that string and compare it with our original string, and this will tell us whether or not the original string is a palindrome. So next, we're going to create a function called only words from string, and this will take in the value string. And in this function, what we're going to be using is the regular expressions library. We're going to be returning only words from a string, which means that if there's parentheses, any of these characters, if you see any of these characters in the string, this will remove them and we will only be left with words. So what we can do is we're going to be using general comprehension, and we're going to be saying return the empty string dot join re dot find all, and then we're going to be using this /w plus, close it, and we're going to pass in a value of string. Cool. So what this is saying is that we're going to using a regular expressions library sub function find all. It's going to look at the string right here, and this symbol right here, this expression is saying that it's going to return all the words. And once we do that, it'll hold it in an array like this with different words, okay, like just random words, not random words, but words from the string. And after we do that, we're going to join each word from that string together so it creates one long string. So for example, let's say we had a string of, here, let's just run this real quick. So let's say we had an s equals dad and mom. So, and then we had, actually let's do this, and then we had this, and then we had dad again, and this. Okay, so now we have that. So what this is gonna do, if we can say words equals, and then we do we can copy and paste so you can see what this is going to do. And instead of string, we're just going to pass in s. And after we do that, we can pass in, we can print words, and it's going to give us dad, mom, dad. Cool. And if you read it backwards, it's dad, dad, mom, dad. But notice if we add a space here, okay, we can also create that, which is pretty cool. It gives us the original string. But the reason we're not doing that is because some palindromes, it won't take that into account and it'll return false. But we can look at that in our examples when we are done. Cool. So now we can work on our function is palindrome. So we can do def is palindrome, and all we're going to do is pass in self. That's it. So first we're going to call our helper function that we created, and we're going to set this into word is equal to self dot only words from string, and then we're going to pass in just self.s. So we're passing in the original string into this function, which is what we want, and that will give us our word. So now we're going to do for I in word, and so what this is going to do, it's going to go through every character in our string. So we could do that down here as well. For I in words, we could just print I, and it'll print DAD space MOM space DAD. And it also works if you just want to check out the first original string, DAD MOM, and then so on and so forth. So that's exactly what we want. We want to be able to check all that. Okay, cool. So next, after we do that, we're gonna add each character in our word to our empty palindrome string. So we have self dot palindrome string equals I plus self dot palindrome string. So if you want to take a look of how this works, we can just create an empty string and then initialize it, and then we can do es is equal to I plus es, and then we can print es. So right here it's printing it back, it's adding it backwards. So if you can tell, we can also print each step along the way, and we can take a look at what it does, just to make things easier. Cool. So it's doing D, A, D, and then dad. It's okay. Now it adds a space, so it's all doing it backwards, right? And then like this is putting it backwards, and then we're just putting mom, M, O, and then M, and then it'll add the tilde, and then keep going. It adds explanation, adds the space, and then the D from this side right here, and then the A, cool, and then the D, cool, and then it adds the explanation from this side, cool. So all this is, as we see, forward and backward. But now if we do our the one that we use regular expressions to figure it out, words. So look, we have the D, A, D right here, and now we have dad, and we have space, and now we have M, O, M, and then we have that's filled, and we have the space right here to right here, and then we have D, cool, A, cool, D. So as we see, they equal each other, which is really cool. So look, we could do es equals equals words true. See, because it's the same forward and backwards, and not s. If es equals s, it's going to give us false, obviously, because it has this. So with the regular expressions that we did right here, it only gets the words dad, mom, dad, and then takes away the explanation points, tilde. which is exactly what we want to figure out if the two strings are, or if the string is a palindrome. Cool. So that's exactly what we're going to be doing right here. So that's all we have to do for this for loop. Now, after we figure out what the palindrome string is, we can return it using general comprehension again, and we can go like this. Return. We will return, and we're going to put this in an F string just so we can see it as users, and we're going to return the original word in here, and then we're going to say is a palindrome. Oh, not in there. Is a palindrome, and then we're going to point at the new word. Oh my. Okay, and then we can call the new word. Oh my goodness. Okay, self dot palindrome string, and we're going to close this, and we're going to say if word is equal to self dot palindrome string. So this is pretty much an if statement, and then we're returning this if it is true. So if the word is equal to self palindrome string, return the word is a palindrome and return the backwards one. So it's the same thing here. We did that, so now we're saying if the original string is equal to the new string, if the new string is equal to the original string, return true. But you'll see why we do it this way. Cool. So now we can do our else statement, else, and then we could just copy and paste this part because it'll be very similar. We can say word is not a palindrome, and we can put that same thing right there, and just to make sure that we understand that it's not a palindrome, we can return that. So now there should be no errors when we run it, which is exactly what we want. We can test it by passing in, we'll do it right here. So we'll pass in mom, dad, Stanley Yelnats, one tot with an exclamation, a man, a plan, a canal, Panama, at # computer science portal, Malayalam, Python is so much fun. So right here, we're just gonna go through the whole thing and it's gonna check. Cool. So as we see, mom is a palindrome because it's backwards. Dad is a palindrome. Stanley Yelnats is a palindrome. If you guys have ever watched Holes, you would know this. One tot is not a palindrome because it's tot one. A man, a plan. What was it? A man, a plan, a canal, Panama is a palindrome because if you take away any of the non-alphanumeric characters, it becomes a palindrome. Computer science portal is not a palindrome. Malayalam is a palindrome. Python is so much fun is not a palindrome. As you can see, it backwards does not say the same thing forward. But now I want you guys to see why we add that space right here, because if we don't, we see that a man, a plan, a canal, Panama is not a palindrome anymore, and that's because when you put it backwards, Panama, Lanak, a Nalp, a Nam, a, right? It's not the same, doesn't read the same. You can't say A and A. But when you combine them together without the space, it will work, which is really cool. That's exactly what we want. So just be aware of that. Notice for those small pieces of information that you might see, and you can also try that in here. Like I said, for that specific case it works, but in general, if you just put all the words together and it reads the same forward as backwards, you're more safe that way. So keep that in mind. But yeah, that's how you would check to see if a string is a palindrome. Not necessarily a word, because you can have, like I said, we can try it again. We can do a random word and just, oh, okay, well, let's be more exact. KS, oh, right here. I think that would work. Cool. And then yeah, see, it returns true because it is the same forward as it is backwards. So just be aware of that, because it doesn't necessarily have to be valid words, just a string in general, a sequence. So that's how you would check if it is palindrome. In my GitHub repository, in the solutions for this specific question, I have provided 2 more documents that are websites that will explain a little bit more of how palindromes are used and whatnot. Definitely check them out. But honestly, figuring out if a palindrome is something developers should be familiar with, because like I said, it is a common and technical interview question. It involves string manipulation and traversal. Now, whether this question has any real life application, I personally am not sure, but that can be up to you for your next project. Maybe you can figure out a way to make this real life and use it in real time. But yeah, definitely take a look at those resources, and you'll notice how there's a bunch of different ways to do this. Awesome, that is it for this video. I hope you guys did learn how to check whether a string is a palindrome or not. Like I said, there are different ways to do this, different approaches, not just this way that I showed you. However, this is how I've done it in the past, and it has worked in interviews and technical interviews. So definitely try it out, work some different things out that might work for you and might help you understand this question a little bit more. I did include 2 resources in the description. One is a Khan Academy article that talk about palindromes, just a general idea of how to approach it. Another one is a Medium article by Jake Tran, and he has it's a great article that goes over palindromes, how to think of them. It goes very in depth and it's very comprehensive. So definitely take a look at that if you have any more questions on this questions particularly. But subscribe for more awesome YouTube videos, and I will talk about calculating factorial later on this week. So hit the notification buttons, turn them on, and yeah, like, comment, follow me on Twitter to see more awesome tech stuff, and I will see you guys in the next one. Dream, code, live.